Chile looks almost impossible on a map, a thin ribbon of land stretched down the western edge of South America, squeezed between the Andes Mountains and the Pacific Ocean. It is one of the most geographically distinctive countries on Earth, running for thousands of kilometers from desert in the north to glaciers, fjords, and subpolar landscapes in the south. Officially called the Republic of Chile, it is often described by its extremes: the closest country to Antarctica, one of the longest north-to-south territories in the world, and a nation whose geography has shaped almost every part of its history. With a 2024 census population of about 18.5 million people, Chile is not the largest country in South America, but its influence has often been outsized. Chile covers about 756,102 square kilometers, but its shape matters more than its size. To the north, it borders Peru. To the northeast is Bolivia, and to the east, across the Andes, lies Argentina. To the south is the Drake Passage, the stormy body of water separating South America from Antarctica. This location gives Chile a powerful sense of isolation and connection at the same time. The Andes form a natural wall, while the Pacific opens routes to trade and exploration. Chile also administers several Pacific islands, including the Juan Fernández Islands, Desventuradas, Isla Salas y Gómez, and Easter Island, known for its monumental Moai statues and deep Polynesian heritage. The capital and largest city is Santiago, located in the central part of the country, where much of Chile's population, politics, finance, and culture are concentrated. Santiago sits in a basin surrounded by mountains, a setting that is both visually dramatic and environmentally challenging. Like many capitals, it is a symbol of national modernity, but Chile's identity is much broader than one city. The country includes arid mining regions, fertile agricultural valleys, coastal fishing communities, forests, volcanoes, and the rugged south. Spanish is the official and national language, reflecting colonial history, but Chile's cultural landscape also includes indigenous legacies, especially those of the Mapuche people in the south-central region. Before Spanish conquest, the territory now called Chile was home to diverse indigenous societies. In the north and center, parts of the region were influenced by the Inca Empire, which expanded southward before the arrival of Europeans. But the Inca did not fully dominate all of what is now Chile, and neither did Spain after it arrived in the 16th century. One of the most important forces in Chilean history was the Mapuche people, who lived in south-central Chile and fiercely defended their autonomy. Spanish colonizers conquered and settled much of the region, but they failed to fully subdue the Mapuche for centuries. This long resistance shaped Chile's frontier, military culture, and national memory. Spain began conquering and colonizing the region in the mid-1500s, bringing Spanish institutions, Catholicism, new economic systems, and a social order built around colonial rule. Chile was not the richest Spanish colony in the Americas, especially compared with silver-producing areas like Peru and Mexico. Its geography made it remote, and conflict with the Mapuche limited Spanish expansion southward. Still, colonial Chile developed around agriculture, local trade, military defense, and administrative ties to the Spanish Empire. Over time, a distinct colonial society emerged, made up of Europeans, indigenous peoples, enslaved and free people of African descent, and mixed communities. These centuries laid the foundations for later struggles over authority, land, identity, and independence. Chile declared independence from Spain in 1818, during the broader wave of independence movements that transformed Latin America. But independence did not immediately create a stable democracy. Like many new states, Chile had to define its institutions, borders, political factions, and economic direction. By the 1830s, Chile had emerged as a relatively stable authoritarian republic. That phrase is important. It was more orderly than many neighboring states, but power was still concentrated among elites, and political participation was limited. This early stability helped Chile build institutions, expand trade, and strengthen the state. It also created a political tradition in which order, authority, and constitutional government were often treated as central national values. During the 19th century, Chile experienced major economic and territorial growth. One of the most consequential developments was the War of the Pacific, fought from 1879 to 1883 against Peru and Bolivia. Chile emerged victorious and gained its current northern territory, including mineral-rich areas that became crucial to national wealth. Bolivia lost its access to the sea, a wound that remains politically sensitive to this day. Around the same period, Chilean state power expanded into Mapuche lands in the south, ending large-scale autonomous resistance in the 1880s. These processes helped create the modern territorial shape of Chile, but they also involved conquest, displacement, and unresolved historical grievances. By the 20th century, Chile was changing rapidly. Population growth, urbanization, labor movements, and new political parties reshaped society. More Chileans moved into cities, especially Santiago, and demands for representation and social reform increased. Chile also became increasingly dependent on exports, especially minerals. Copper became central to the economy, earning Chile a reputation as one of the world's great copper producers. This resource wealth funded development and state programs, but dependence on copper also made the economy vulnerable to global price swings. As workers, business elites, farmers, students, and political parties pushed competing visions of the future, Chile became a country of active democracy but also deep social tension. The 1960s and early 1970s were marked by intense political polarization. Chile's left and right increasingly saw each other not simply as opponents, but as existential threats. In 1970, Salvador Allende, a Marxist and leader of a left-wing coalition, was democratically elected president. His government pursued major reforms, including nationalization and social redistribution, while facing resistance from conservative sectors, business interests, parts of the middle class, and foreign pressure. The United States supported efforts against Allende's government during the Cold War, when Washington viewed leftist governments in Latin America through the lens of anti-communism. Economic instability, strikes, shortages, and political confrontation pushed Chile toward crisis. On September 11, 1973, Chile's military overthrew Allende's democratically elected government in a coup d'état. General Augusto Pinochet became the central figure of a right-wing military dictatorship that lasted 16.5 years. The regime enacted the 1980 Constitution and introduced far-reaching political and economic reforms, including market-oriented policies that reshaped the Chilean economy. But the dictatorship was also marked by severe repression and widespread human rights violations. More than 3,000 people were killed or disappeared, and many more were imprisoned, tortured, exiled, or silenced. For Chile, this period remains one of the most painful and debated chapters in national history. The dictatorship did not end through a military defeat, but through a political process. In 1988, Chile held a referendum on whether Pinochet should remain in power. The No campaign won, opening the path to democratic transition. In 1990, civilian rule returned, and a center-left coalition took power, governing until 2010. This transition was celebrated as a major democratic achievement, but it was not simple. Chile had to balance demands for justice, stability, economic continuity, constitutional reform, and reconciliation. The legacy of the dictatorship continued to shape debates over human rights, inequality, privatization, education, pensions, and the role of the state in everyday life. Today, Chile is considered a high-income economy and one of the most economically and socially stable countries in South America. It performs strongly in regional comparisons of democratic development, state capacity, and institutional stability. It is a founding member of the United Nations and belongs to organizations such as CELAC and the Pacific Alliance. In 2010, Chile joined the OECD, a sign of its global economic standing. Yet Chile's story is not only one of success. It is a country shaped by geography, indigenous resistance, colonialism, resource wealth, inequality, dictatorship, and democratic recovery. Chile is a narrow country, but its history is anything but narrow. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.